So I have a passion for chapters within NAGAP, and it started, and gosh, it's probably been about 12 or 13 years ago that NAGAP had several chapters at that time, but had made a commitment to, expand that opportunity for a lot of different regions and states that were interested in doing that. So we had a big boom at the time, like I said, about 13, maybe 13, 15 years ago, something like that. And I was lucky enough to know a couple of people who were starting the Texas chapter. And just a few months, I was not part of the original half a dozen folks that met and talked about it. But about 6 months after that, there was a desire to have a summer event. And so I was, knee deep in event planning in my job, as most of you guys are. And so it just kind of took off from there. And I was really excited to find other people within the Texas community who were excited about NAGAP. They were excited about TexGap. They were excited about sharing that knowledge. And I'm sure that most of you have kind of that same, uh, you know, that same kind of falling in with that group, and that's why you've chosen to work with the chapter. So I was lucky enough to get on as vice president of TexGap for about a year and a half, and at the time the president had a lot of medical issues, and so basically I was kind of doing most of the stuff for him. And then I was president of TexGap for 3 years. And it really was a great time for, these newer chapters and folks who are looking to really kind of figure out what is it that what we do, how do we fit in with NAGAP, what are some of the support programs, how do we manage this thing. And early on, I'll be honest with you, I don't think that there really was a lot of support. I think that there was some, just hey, you guys kind of do whatever you're going to do and go, go chapters, yay. So there was a lot of discussions, lots of questions. And I think that, for the most part, all of our chapters are really, thriving and really such a critical component of what NAGAP offers to folks in the gym profession. So I then started working with the chapters committee and was then asked to serve as chapters chair. And I really do believe that my passion for chapters has really been able to help look at how can we support chapters overall. And it's really been part of what I think I've brought to the table to say, okay, I know what it was like being a chapter president. And as a chapters chair and part of this committee, I want to make sure that we, as part of the NAGAP board, are bringing that support to you as a chapter leader. So that's really my commitment to you, is to help shore up whatever support that we can provide to you. So one of the things that we really did want to make sure was a healthy part of that support is providing an orientation for new chapter leaders. So I see a lot of familiar faces on here, and I appreciate you guys, showing up. And so we do have a monthly chapter presidents meeting. And so that is usually today. And we're going to talk about kind of the orientation for new chapter leaders. So, for you guys who have been doing this for a while, please do not feel like you have to stay on. But it might be just a good way to, kind of remember some of the things that we have to offer and some of the things that you need to do also. So that's me kind of in a nutshell, as kind of an introduction, but I would love to just do, kind of a quick brief We'll do a round robin of folks. I'll kind of call out names if that's okay. It's usually a little bit easier, as we've learned in Zoom. And, you know, what school you're at, what do you do, what's your role in your chapter, and we'll go on from there. How about that? Steve, I'm going to start with you, Steve Ostendorf, and let you kick things off.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Ostendorf. I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions at Bank Street Graduate School of Education, a small education-focused school in Manhattan. I am the current president of NAGAP. I work with an excellent board there, of which someone was supposed to be here today and then got called into a Board of Trustees meeting at 4 p.m. And so, I mean, I tried to convince her that this was more important, but it just didn't work out. So, I've been the president of NIGAP. I took over in an interim role last year when Ryan Togren took over a role within NAGAP. So this is going to be my first full term, in which I was just elected this past May. So I will pass it off if you want. I can do that. Bill, do you want to go next? Because you're next on my screen.
Sure. I'm Bill Heffelfinger. I'm the president of CapGap and director of graduate admissions at Old Dominion University. And I'm going into my second year as the president of CapGap, working with a team that is really trying to bring CapGap back from the dead because it had kind of gone inactive for the last about 5 years. So we're working hard, just trying to bring everything back up to speed. All right, Chad, I'm going to go to you.
Great, thanks. I'm Chad Baker. I'm the Director of Graduate Recruitment and Admissions at Millersville University, one of the state system schools in Pennsylvania. I am the current president for PA Gap. I've been in that role for about a year. So I'm about halfway through my first term. So just welcome to everyone that's new and good to see all the familiar faces. So I'm going to pass it off. I'm going to pass it off to my sister, Judy. No relation, but Judy, go ahead.
Me? Okay. Judy Baker, I'm on the chapter committee. I'm director of graduate admissions at Nazareth College and former NIGAP, actually founding president. And I'm at home with a broken arm, as Dana will tell you.
Yeah, Judy has been invaluable, and yeah, Judy, time I've got to see you this week, so I hope you're feeling better. And
I am.
Yeah, it really stinks.
Yeah, not a very sexy tale. I just fell forward in a parking.
Oh, no. Oh,
yeah.
So make up something next time. You know, your parachute didn't open, or you know,
being chased like by something. I don't know, being chased by a bear or something.
Awesome. Let's go with Skylar next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Skylar Hall. I am the Bay Gap chapter president. We were in the middle of a leadership transition, and then COVID-19 was just very inhospitable to our chapter and just really kind of, dipped some engagement in the chapter. And long story short, it looks like I'm, going to be supporting the chapter in, kind of its next phase here. I also have on the call with me Desiree here. We both work for California Institute of Integral Studies, but I will go ahead and pass it off to Desiree, who is our new treasurer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Desiree. Like Skylar mentioned, I am the new treasurer for Bay Gap, and I am an admissions counselor for the California Institute of Integral Studies. And I'm happy to be here. Yeah. Let me see. I'll pick Sarah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Wanger. I'm the Director of Admission for the Kelley Direct Online MBA and MS degree programs at the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University. I, for the past year, have been the Secretary of MAGAP, the Midwest Association, which is like half of the United States, it feels like some days. We got a lot of states in our region. But I recently now transitioned from the secretary role, which I did for just a year of the term, and then moved into the president role as of a month ago, and still getting my feet on the ground under me, but have a fantastic new board of new members as well as some returning members. And one of our new members is here, our vice president. So I'll call on Thomas Ott to go next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Thomas Ott. I'm the new vice president of NAGAP. Looking forward to learning more about how to be effective in the role and support Sarah's vision for our chapter. I'm the associate director of recruitment at University of Chicago in the humanities division. So mostly recruitment strategy, behind the scenes stuff, not as student facing as I used to be. So a lot of web content, email campaigns, data analyzation, things of that nature. So yeah, I'm happy to meet you all. And I have met a few of you before, I think, NAGAT summits even. So I'm looking forward to continuing the relationship, but in this new way. So look forward to learning from you all. And has everybody gone, or are we still missing a few people? I'll go with Matt. He's next to me on my screen.
Thanks, Thomas. Hi all, I'm Matt Cipriano. I am the Director of Postdoc and Student Affairs at Mount Sinai's Icahn School of Medicine. No, the order of those words was mixed up, but you get the point. I work with the graduate programs over here in postdocs. Prior to joining this team in January, I worked with graduate enrollment side and admissions for 19 years at NYU and Weill Cornell. I am the new treasurer of BioGap as of last month, I guess. Prior to that, had some involvement with other chapters. I was the first New York City president of NAGAP. It's nice to see another one. I've been the vice president of BioGap. I've been on the NAGAP board. I've done a few things around. And John, if you're on the call, I believe it's your turn.
Hello. How's everybody doing? This is John Smith. I am the president of TexGap. That's in the great Lone Star State of Texas, where you have snow one day and rain the next, and then it's 90 degrees. Okay. But anyway, want to welcome all of you all who are new to your various boards. I do have two new committee members who unfortunately are not on the call. They're actually incumbents. They changed roles. So I have Heather Miller, who is our vice president. She previously was over our Summer Institute, which was last week, which was an excellent event. And we also have Matt Painter, who's our treasurer. He came back. He wanted to continue to count the money. So he's an incumbent, so he didn't get on the call today. But I'm sorry. I work at the University of Houston, in the College of Technology, where I serve as the director of graduate and professional programs. So that's what I do on my day-to-day basis. So anytime you come to Houston, look me up. I'd love to hang out with you and show you around. You all be safe and take care.
And I think we've gone through everybody except probably the one that holds us all together, and that is Christy Ross. Christy, I don't know if you're willing to actually come on or not.
Sure, why not?
Oh, fantastic. Yay. Okay, tell us what's going on with you and who you are.
So I'm Christy Ross, and I am NAGAP's Associate Executive Director and the liaison to the chapters committee and to this group. So if you need anything NAGAP related, please reach out.
So Christy and I work very closely together. And so, often if, you can't get a hold of me to figure out something, or usually it's me sending an email back to Christy to say, hey, I don't know what to do. Can you help me? Or, we've got to do all of these various tasks. And so she's been just fantastic about doing that. As some of you may know, Catherine Huey, who is our most recent executive director with NAGAP, has just left. And so Christy is kind of filling in that role for right now. and we're excited to have her. She's got some great chapter experience and history, and she's also got a lot of stuff on her plate too. So we'll just kind of keep going on. And so she's the one that's helping, make sure that the meeting stuff is all set up, and, getting names right and all the various different places. So we really just appreciate everything that Christy does. Could not do this without her. So, okay. So, and I apologize. I kind of mentioned this, I think, before most everybody was on. I've got a cold today, and it just boggles my mind that out of all of the hand sanitizer and the Clorox wipes and all of that, this kind of kicking my butt today. So I'm a little hopped up on Sudafed and NyQuil and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to just kind of power through as best we can. Anyway. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen at this point because I do have a PowerPoint. Can't have a meeting without a PowerPoint, can you? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Where can I do that? Share screen. Here we go. All right. Like I said, nobody laugh because it's been a day. All right. Is this working? Do you guys see what's happening here? Do y'all see this? Okay, fantastic. Wonderful. So our orientation, and again, this is really just to make sure that, especially for those who are new to the chapter role on your executive board, kind of even maybe newer to NAGAP, and how does all of this chapter business work with NAGAP? Like, what's the difference? We really felt that this orientation would just be really a great place to kind of lay that groundwork. So our relationship, there really is one, right? Even though your chapter is its own entity, there really is a relationship back up to NAGAP. And so we do have that in our bylaws. And that really is, like I said, a critical part of the NAGAP mission about supporting chapters. There's a lot of pieces and parts to that, but I think it's just important for you to know that that is a part that we feel is so important that it's in the bylaws. So there's some technical words about all of that. You guys can read all of that stuff. And it's more than just, hey, there's this relationship. It's really that we are partners, and that that NAGAP wants to support chapters. This committee wants to make sure that we're supporting you in those almost everyday tasks that you have to do. So one of those things is we need to come together, just like we are right now, because it is really an important aspect of ensuring that information is shared from the top down. And let's face it, that doesn't even happen on some of our own campuses, right? So we do it every month, and it might seem like it's a little bit of an overkill. I've worried about that, and at times I need you guys to respond, back about that. But I feel like, and we've done some things to change that over the last year that I hope has been really helpful to dig a little bit deeper into some various things. In ways is that we've been a guest speaker every month for the last year. Generally, that's been one of the NAGAP board members to talk in detail about things like membership, marketing. So those have been really, I think, the ways to make sure that you really hear about what's happening with NAGAP. And it's a time that you can share with each other about what you're doing in your own chapter. So in the past, it's always like, okay, well, before COVID, we did this, and now I don't know exactly what we're going to do. But we did have biannual chapter leader meetings for chapter presidents at the Kansas City NAGAP office. We did not do it this past year for many obvious reasons. Two being COVID, one being money. And so Those meetings generally are provided by the NAGAP budget, just kind of for those of you who are new, just to really have an idea of like, well, what does that mean? How am I supposed to pay for it and all that kind of stuff. So what we were able to do this last year that I felt was really helpful was to actually expand that meeting, which we did in a virtual format. And we were able to actually bring in chapter executive board members when in the past it really was just the president. And I think that we had a lot of great discussion. We learned a lot of different things, and it's something that I think that we'll probably to figure out and continue that in the years to come. So, and we'll get back to you on what that looks like for this fall. So I've already kind of talked about some of these things, but other person staff that you may or may not know, you may hear some things from is Debbie Jennings, who is our meeting manager. And so anyway, and I don't know if Christy, you have any other comment about who they might hear from the NAGAP office, but generally it's going to be Christy. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, maybe Brianna, our assistant, but it'd be me or Debbie probably.
Got it. Perfect. We'll talk about Brianna here in just a little bit. Okay. How do I make this go? There we go. So there, as each of the chapters is a nonprofit organization, you have to look at this as leading a nonprofit, leading a volunteer-based organization. And one of the things that we've done in the past was to provide a document that's basically like the top 10 basic responsibilities of leading a nonprofit organization. And I'll tell you, I think in a few minutes, or I'll tell you now, that document is listed in the chapter leaders exchange community. We'll dig into that here in just a minute. But I think it's something worthwhile for you as a president to take that and discuss that with your board as to how you're going to lead this organization. So it's just a side kind of document to help support you in your role. Okay, we also have a chapter statement of commitment that we're going to ask every chapter president and every chapter executive board member to sign. We had some of these discussions this last year. In the past, we just asked presidents and treasurers to sign, but because we believe that this statement of commitment really helps to reinforce that commitment that you are making to your chapter. There's nothing binding about it, you know, just to be transparent with you. But I believe that it really does kind of help sell home that idea that you signed up for this and there really is a commitment to it, right? And we want you to see that through. We want to give you the support that you need to see that through, but we really want to really make sure as even president that it's your responsibility to model this commitment to your board and to your organization. Okay, so there are a couple of places where we really are trying to kind of place all of this information for you to help make it a little bit easier for you to kind of find things. We've been working on this for quite some time. It's been a little bit of a hard road. If you know it works, you probably hate it as much as I do. It is an awful system, but it is the system that NAGAP has used for the last, I'll call it umpteen years, because it's been around as long as I've been around chapters, for document storage. And there is the process in which Christy will get you access to that. Please, please, please write down your password somewhere, because it's a bear anytime you change computers or whatever to find that password. So that's just pro tip for the day. So within the SharePoint platform, there is there is a lot of documentation, some historical. In the past, we've really encouraged you as a chapter leader to store historical documents there, more of like evergreen stuff. We know that probably most of you have a separate place where you are keeping your kind of operational documents. Totally fine, totally up to you how you want to manage your chapter on a day-to-day basis. But from examples like bylaws and other kind of chapter charters, some of those historical documents are really great for NAGAP to help store for you. And sometimes we get asked about things that may have happened in the past with chapters. And for us to be able to have access to that as well really does make a difference. And so at some point, I would love for each of you to just go back into your SharePoint areas and see what's there, see if you can replace some things that need to be updated. You would have access to do all of that. So the exchange is really kind of the most exciting part about documentation and giving you the place where there are things that we think can help you do your job better. And since we launched the exchange early last year, we've really seen how we can actually use that maybe in a better way than SharePoint. I don't know that we've really made that full commitment to say everything's going to be in the exchange and nothing's going to be in SharePoint. We're still kind of working through some of those nuances and maybe trying to figure some things out. But it is at least a place for some of those more regular documents that you might use as a chapter leader. And we'll go back through. Once I get done with some of these slides, I'll pull up those pages and we'll I'll just do some screen share with that. So there is, again, maybe you're still going to use your Google Docs, your Google Drive that you have, totally fine. But from a kind of any documents that NAGAP is asking you to use and how you work with our chapter committee, the exchange group, I think is really going to be a great place for us to share that information there. Okay, so far, any questions? Like you guys just shouted out. Remember, I'm on NyQuil doped up, so I don't even know what's happening. All right, everybody fine. Okay, so one of the other things that we've done this past year is to help, we think it's going to help, give you another platform in which to use, a way for you to communicate about your chapter and about the leadership and how to connect with you and your chapter. So Brianna, we kind of referenced her earlier. She is part of the NAGAP staff. And so one of her tasks over this last year, and she may have worked with some of you, was to set up your own, basically it's just a web page, but it is really for you to use as a chapter. And it is attached to the NAGAP website, but we made the URL, I think, pretty clear that if you don't have your own website, you are able to use this as kind of that launching point. And sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze. So if you have updates, and Christy, I'm going to call out to you again. I put in here about sending updates to info@NAGAP. Do you have a different preference of where they would send updates to?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, so when you guys get a chance, please go in and look at those. And I think on the, so when you go to the About NAGAP top menu item, and then you find chapters, there is one page that just kind of lists all of the chapters. And I know that there were a couple of updates that we needed to get done. But then you can also scroll over and see your individual chapter page. So if there are updates on like I said, events, whether it's links to another website that you also have, then please just, make sure that we're getting, it's another connection point, right? For anyone who is looking at NAGAP and wondering, oh, well, how can I get connected? Or what are these chapters really doing? It's just another place to do. I think that's about it on that. Okay. So other resources that we provide as from NAGAP to chapters is that when we get to meet in person to the annual conference or the GEM Summit, we provide a meeting space for you and your chapter to meet. So normally at the conference, for many of I'm sure you've attended many of the chapter meetings that are included as part of the annual conference agenda. And so we will provide that meeting space within, the hotel or conference area for you to host your chapter meetings. We've changed a couple of times over the last couple of years. Obviously, this year was very different, and we even asked you all to host your own virtual chapter meetings outside of the GEM Summit this year, which I think really probably worked out great for a lot of you. And thank you, for those of you who allowed us to come in and just say hi. We really did want to make sure that your chapter membership saw that we were supporting, you and by being there, having that NAGAP presence. I really hope that helped. So if you don't have your own Zoom access and you want to use Zoom access for any virtual meetings that you're hosting, with Christy to get access to that and get that set up. There is also an individual community space in the exchange for each of your chapters. So this is really a great place for you to use as a discussion board just for your chapter. And I think that we're all still trying to kind of learn how we can best use the exchange. I know that there's been a lot of posts in kind of that main discussion board, but we're still trying to, see how are we getting people to really get in and identify with individual community rooms within the exchange. So it's a great opportunity for you to go in and see. Again, right now, this is for folks who are NAGAP members who have access to the exchange. There has been some discussion about having non-NAGAP members who may identify with your chapter as a chapter member, providing them access to that community group for you. Working out some details on that, but it's something that we believe might be a great tool for you to be able to still have kind of a way to encompass all of the folks who identify with you as a chapter, even if they are not a NAGAP member. Okay, we also will provide kind of a space within the NAGAP news, which goes out every week under the chapter channel. So if you want to promote something that's happening in your chapter, whether it is goes to a chapter member, whether it is promoting an event that you have, a webinar, whatever it is you want to say, they need that information to info@nagap.org by, I'm going to say Monday at noon. I forget exactly the time, but that sounds good to me, right? Unless Christy wants to tell me I'm wrong. Sometimes she does. Okay, so planning documents and templates. There is a toolkit, which I think there's a slide on here, to talk a little bit more in detail about the chapter toolkit, but included are some templates for you to use for membership communication, and some other things like that. So we've kind of tried to package everything together for you and included some of those templates in there for you. So beyond just your chapter exchange community, we also have a couple of others that I think are really the most important to you as a chapter leader. And so I've kind of referenced some of those already, but we have a separate chapter presidents community group. And then there is the chapter leaders community group. One of the things that we heard in our kind of big summit with all of the last is that often executive members that are not the president don't really know about some of the things that are available to them, right? And how to access some of that information. And even more critical, I think, for you as a president, in order to delegate a little bit more efficiently and use people on your board to help you, they need access to a lot of that information. And we just don't want to make things harder on you. We really do want to make things easier. And so the chapter leaders community is where we're putting a lot of that information. So that's going to be really kind of the one place that I want to make sure that you're sharing that with the rest of your board and getting them access to that. So it's something that if you will kind of make sure that they can get access to that. If they don't, let's get Christy involved to make sure that they can get access. And then we also do have kind of a liaison, if you will, with the education committee. And I meet with them frequently to talk about different ways that chapters have some kind of impact or vice versa from the educational offerings that NAGAP produces. So, and what I mean by that is we know you guys are doing a lot of educational production for your chapters. And there's a lot of educational content from NAGAP that you could use also. So it's really kind of figuring out, and I won't say that this process is perfect yet, that we really want to figure out how can we share all of that information? How can we, put all of that together so that you have that resource, and also that NAGAP's education committee and others who are working on a webinar. If you're working, if our NAGAP education committee is working on a NAGAP and on a webinar, and you're working on a webinar, and they happen to be in the same month with the same topic, then let's figure out how to bring that all together, right? And so, like I said, I think it's something that we're still working towards, but it's something that we recognize is really that there could be some overlap, and maybe there's a way to force some of that. One of the other ways that we do that is to provide you a list of the GEM Summit presentations that are accepted, and also those who are not accepted. To me, that's a great kind of resource for you to find people who are willing to present at any kind of professional development offering that you're going to have. I always found as a chapter president that it seemed like that's what I spent a lot of time doing, was tracking down people who were willing to, present on something. And so giving you kind of that bank of people who are ripe and willing and already have an abstract created and all of that kind of stuff is, to me, it's a win-win for you guys as well. All right, moving on. So I talked a little bit more about I talked about the education committee, and one of the things that I think is helpful for you is to see that the education committee has structured by month the different educational domains that they want to focus on that month. So this can also help you as you start to think about if you really are going to come up with, some kind of professional development offering, taking a look at this and seeing. And if it's something that you feel like, hey, you found a great speaker to talk about something, and you think that it's something that you also really would like to share with the rest of NAGAP, then it could be that if it fits in with this, that that we talk with the education committee, and they actually use that chapter activity that month as what what NAGAP is offering. So you can kind of get a good idea here on the areas that they are looking every month. Obviously, we also work very closely with the membership committee on the exchange community groups. We post the membership list for you, the NAGAP membership list, which is posted in the chapter leaders community every month. So if you want to go in and pull that list and take a look at who's in your chapter, it is a lot more difficult for the special interest chapters. But for those of you who can filter by state, by institution, feel free, go ahead. Okay, what is next? All right, so the other thing that we've really worked on again for the last couple of years is, if you're familiar with NAGAP, they have created the Strategic Partnership Council. In working with our vendor partners who are committed to NAGAP, and we want to really kind of bring them into this council where there are a lot of different factors that we're looking at in order to determine, do they kind of meet these parameters to be on the council? And so one of the things that is a big consideration when looking at a vendor partner is, what are they doing with the chapters, right? So you're seeing those vendors at the GEM Summit in the exhibit hall, whether they sponsor, whether they're presenting. But one of the other key components that we know vendors are an incredible tool for you as a chapter, either through some kind of financial sponsorship or they're presenting a session for you. We need to know about that because it is part of the consideration for their for them to be part of that Strategic Partnership Council. So there is a form anytime that you kind of create some kind of partnership with a vendor slash sponsor. We would love for you to be able to be sure and add that to this list because we will pull that. And I think that we really, absolutely need to look at that. I think it's like January, February is kind of that time frame. But I think it's just a good practice. Anytime you kind of set that relationship, go in and put it in there. So, all right, what else? So financial information. This is huge for most of you to make sure that you have all of that bank information. You've got, understand the tax forms. There is also an annual report that we ask you to do every year. And it's not necessarily.
Can anyone hear
all
Diana?
about, yeah. John, did you have a question?
No, I couldn't hear you. I guess you froze up on my screen. I'm sorry.
Oh, got it. Okay. Everybody can hear me good? All right.
I can. Good.
Okay, perfect. So the financial information, this annual report that we ask, it's not completely just about your finances. There is a lot more information in there, but I think any time that you have something out there, you need to know about it. You need to know where it is. You need to know where it's kept. All of I get that this is maybe common sense, but you just never know when something might happen and someone needs to get access to that. So just kind of again, pro tip. Also your social media, and again, it's about making sure that you have access, making sure that you know where those passwords are, what's being done with it. What is the continuity plan for those, especially during some kind of transition. And this also is a great time for me to mention the branding guidelines that we have. There are logos created for each chapter that is a kind of a co-branded logo. We really want you to use that. We really want you to make sure that you're, kind of complying with all of the NAGAP branding that we have, and that, we're not spelling out the National Association of Graduate Admissions Professionals, which we haven't been named that in many years now. So be sure and look for those most current logos for NAGAP and for your chapter at nagap.org. And I believe on SharePoint is where the logos are. I don't remember if we put them in the Exchange or not yet. We'll go take a look at that. All right, so that's kind of the bulk of the stuff. We're here to help you. So we know what you're going through. We've been there, we've done it. And I don't think Leslie's on today, but Leslie Lichter at Johns Hopkins is also on the chapter committee. And we've all done it. We've all been where you are, the same struggles, and we want to be able to help you and get you the answers to the questions that you have. So please let us know. How can we help? What are you struggling with? And then also use each other. You're the ones who are doing it right now. And, what is the deal with, maybe how are you addressing, kind of COVID related issues with your chapter? But really, what I really want to kind of bring home right now is succession planning. And I get that for a couple, some of our new folks, you're just like, hey, I just got started. Give me a break. Let me, figure things out. But oh my gosh, that time will fly. And I believe that as a chapter president, one of the most important things that you can do for your chapter is to find the next set of leadership, right? It's not to set the next meeting. It's not to make sure that your bylaws are up to date. It's not to, kind of make sure that somebody's posting on social media. It is for you to look at how will this chapter continue when I'm no longer involved? And how do you find and tap into those upcoming leaders and those new folks? And I get it. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of relationship building. But it is probably, like I said, my opinion, but I think it's probably the most important thing that you can do as a chapter leader. Okay, I think that's it. I do want to, I'm gonna just kind of get out of this. And so if you guys have questions, start throwing them at me. I'm gonna bring up these other pages here to go into some detail about the Exchange and stuff. Anybody have questions so far? Nobody. Man, okay. Well, that's
yeah,
good,
I'd say no questions. I would say, Dana, that the key piece about succession planning, I don't know if that could have a stronger exclamation point. Engaging folks in your chapter to take on leadership opportunities is no simple task. And it's going to take work, and you're just going to have to keep working at it over and over again. I've actually stopped saying the word volunteer opportunities and started talking more about leadership experience and leadership opportunities, because volunteering feels like a chore. Leadership feels like I'm doing something for myself. And so, and we're constantly creating new things in NAGAP to help people get involved and take on these leadership opportunities. And it's hard. It's finding people who want to do it. So keep working at it.
Can I interject, Steve, just to add on to that? I think this is John. I think a good way to do that is by kind of, when you get your team or when you work with your team, kind of find out what their professional aspirations are as well. So if they're in a position where they're good where they are, or if they want to progress professionally, like me, I want to become a dean of a college. You can always use this as a way of, using this to adding something to your tool belt per se, to say, hey, okay, you have this experience, but you also have this experience outside of that that'll broaden your scope to make you more, more prepared for the job that you may eventually want to have. So that's usually what I talk to my team about.
And I know it's been difficult with COVID for all of us. But I remember, one of the kind of the best things that we started with TextGap was to really just to have a retreat, with your board to get away that time that you need to have those kind of longer conversations. And so if you are able to figure out how to do that, of course, I think in person is always the best, but maybe with Zoom, we're able to bring some of those folks, especially when you think about NAGAP and it's 83 states or whatever it is. It's a lot to figure out how to do that, but I think it's important that you do take that time with your board, like John and Steve said, to do that. Okay, I know we're kind of running pretty quick on time here, but I do want to show you SharePoint. And this is the chapters area that you can find in SharePoint with the shared documents. And again, there's a lot of older stuff in here, but if you kind of are looking for something, want to kind of just dig around and see what's in there, I think this is really a great place just to know that it's there. I also wanted to, okay, let me stop sharing that. I'm going to go over to the exchange. Has anybody had like problems getting into your community group for the exchange, for the chapter leaders or the chapter presidents? Because like I said, this is really where it's at. So this is the chapter leaders community within the exchange. And we've got a lot of stuff in here. So there is the monthly membership list, like I mentioned. I don't know what's happening here. Oh, here we go. So you can, take a look at those. And there's also this code key. There's some good stuff in there. I guess this probably is all of our logos, chapter logos. Great, fantastic. And then we'll try to keep our minutes from our monthly meetings in here as well. So if you need to go back and read through some of those. And this is where the sponsor form that I talked about, this vendor tracking form, some of this is going to go to a Google Doc. And it's now occurred to me that Catherine just left, and I don't know if Christy's got access to those, if we're switching those over. I don't know. But if you've got a question about it, let us know. We're going to be figuring some of this stuff out in our own transition here. I think that's it. In terms of stuff I just wanted you to see, I wanted you to take a look at that. Last questions, thoughts, fears, worries, anything. It is not lost on any of us on the chapter committee how hard you work and how much time you spend. And doing things for your chapters, working with your people, and like I mentioned earlier, I fear sometimes that maybe the time we ask you to spend with us is a lot, but I feel like it's really important for you to learn about things that are happening from NAGAP so that you can share and make your own plans with your own chapters. But it really is kind of for us to make sure you're supported. That's really what it's about. And if there's any way that we can help you, we just absolutely want to do that. Judy, I don't know if you want to say anything else from the chapter committee.
No, I think that Dana said most of it. And the chapter committee itself is actually undergoing a transition as well. We are looking for at least one additional chapter committee member to better strategize how we can help serve and support the chapters. So there was something on the exchange, but I don't think we had any bites, did we?
We no, but we have a couple of ideas. You were busy breaking your arm. And
I know.
So,
Good. Yeah, Yeah. So, but I would also say to this group, if you know of past chapter leaders or people in your chapter that you see could use some great development and some great exposure at the national level, please send them our way.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think for the presidents, so you should all have your monthly meetings all lined up. Next month, we are going to hear from Katie Bezak about marketing in NAGAP and how that's been going. And thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. See you guys soon. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone. Good seeing you.
Bye. Thank